Hello everybody. So today I want to talk about free Bitcoin treasury companies, Metaplanet, Semler Scientific, and Strategy. I will spend the bulk of this video on Metaplanet and Semler, but MicroStrategy until the end. There's two pieces of news that I want to share about MSTR. So feel free to skip to the end if you're just here for MSTR. Let's get started though and talk about a new stock on this channel. Metaplanet. This is my first time covering Metaplanet. I was waiting for their earnings, their Q1, and they released their Q1. More than 50 slides in that report. A lot of detail is provided by Metaplanet. Metaplanet is the best performing stock in the history of the world in 2024. Not the history of the world, but in the world. In the world, it's been the number one performer in the world. They are, of course, a Bitcoin treasury company located in Japan, a place notorious for low interest rates and insane monetary printing, and they trade at a very high price to NAV in general, which is why a lot of people have sometimes avoided Metaplanet. But the reason why it trades at such a high NAV is two things. First of all, in Japan, that's kind of like the only exposure you can have to Bitcoin besides buying it outright. There's only one company that owns Bitcoin, and it is Metaplanet. That's point number one. The other point is the tax favorability. So in Japan, from what I understand, few people want to own Bitcoin straight, like real Bitcoin, because it's taxed at 55%. If you own it via a stock, it is taxed at 20%. So this explains much of the premium. Add to that the fact that Metaplanet is eligible for margin in Japan, so people can borrow against it, and you have a recipe for a very popular stock, which is going to trade at a high price to NAV. But another reason why this stock trades at a price to NAV that is this high is the speed at which they have been able to acquire Bitcoin, and it's been nothing short of stunning. Since adopting the Bitcoin strategy, if you look, they multiplied their Bitcoin bag by 103. Okay, that's fine because you since the first buy, right? So that's not really meaningful. Market cap was multiplied by 138. So we're not too far off between these two numbers, and you can see that the stock recently has gotten relatively cheap because the price to NAV year to date, the Bitcoin NAV did a 3.9x, so they've increased enormously their Bitcoin, but the market cap only did a 2.4x. So relatively, this stock has not run as fast as the bag on the balance sheet, and really this is what I want to talk about. This is what's truly impressive, is the bag on the balance sheet and how quickly they've been able to grow the hodl. And how do they do that, right? So they have an ATM, but in Japan you can't have an ATM. So they've created a sophisticated system with warrants, with moving strike warrants, in order to print money in reverse. And apparently, I mean, from what I understand, it's much more effective. The way they print money via their ATM is much more effective than just the straightforward way that MSTR prints money via the ATM. I find very few in-depth discussion of the way these warrants work on the internet. The best description that I've found is this video from Tim Kotzman where he interviews Dylan Leclerc, right? And moving strike warrants. Look, it's about a 5-minute explanation of how they were able to reverse engineer Japanese capital markets in order to do an ATM in a place where ATM is not supposed to be a thing. And it is quite impressive and frankly very effective from what I understand. They've been able to raise funds much more quickly than MSTR via the traditional ATM without having anywhere near the same type of impact on the price to NAV, anywhere near the straightforward move between printing shares and dropping the price to NAV. Metaplanet is not seeing that, and so they have this convoluted way to earn yield, which is very interesting. Feel free to watch this video if you want to know the mechanics. Now, I want to point out, most people still don't get ATM math, so This is going to take 5 years for people to wrap their heads around this, because most people don't get the basic dilution is good idea. They don't get that basic one. So getting this, that's going to take a while to educate the market. Anyways, what matters is how quickly they've been able to grow the bag. I mean, this is nothing short of unbelievable. You can see in December they had 1,762 Bitcoin. They now have 6,796 Bitcoins. So they've done a multiple fold increase in the number of Bitcoin. That's quite stunning. The yield to date of this company is plus 170%. BTC yield to date, right? Year to date BTC yield is plus 170%, and they had given guidance, right? They had given guidance last quarter saying that for full year of 2025, they would achieve 232% Bitcoin yield. Well, guess what? They've already achieved 170%. We're 5 months in. They had 170%. The goal is 232%. This is just blowing past the guidance like insanity. In my view, they will have achieved that guidance by Q2, because if you look at Q2 right now, they've already raised 38% BTC yield in Q2. Their target was 35%. That was their target, 35%. They're already at 38%. Q2 is not done. We still got quite a while ways to go in Q2. So are they going to earn another 90% in Q2? It's all about the ATM, and the ATM for this stock is this reverse ATM with warrants is working impressively with this stock. And all of this, of course, at the same time as so many BTC treasury companies are coming in, so many hot companies are coming in, entering the space. And so we've seen an NAV compression, an MNAV compression that, frankly, is the reason why I look at the stock right now. Because, of course, when this stock was trading at 9x NAV, I wasn't going to look. Right? But we're getting that MNAV compression quite a bit. In fact, the MNAV right now is a 2.74. So it's just a tad more expensive than MicroStrategy now. But you see, in the mind of people, this stock is, people are still treating this stock like it's trading at like 8 times price to NAV. It's not the case anymore. It's now trading at 2.7 times price to NAV. And this is because they've been able to accumulate so quickly that Bitcoin. And so, if you're trading at 2.7 times price to NAV, but let's say you just double, assume you just double the Bitcoin. Like most of an NAV is already accounted for if they double the Bitcoin. What if they quadruple the Bitcoin within the next 2 years? Actually, they guided for a 3x on the bag of Bitcoin, right? They guided for 21,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2026. They now have 6,796. So they've guided for a 3x, but you see what happened with the guidance already. So is this going to be a 4x or a 5x or even a 6x? Maybe, and that more than pays for a 2.7 price to NAV. I now find this stock quite interesting, and I think their ability to grow the Bitcoin bag relative to their size, they're going to be able to grow the bag much more quickly than MicroStrategy. So I find this stock quite compelling, and I'll be looking to add it. Stay tuned on the Patreon. The problem is, the broker that has it, right? The broker that has Metaplanet wants a fully settled fund. So I gotta wait 5 days for funds to fully settle in there before I can even buy OTC. That's the main issue with this stock, is it's not easily purchasable in the US. It's OTC. You gotta go on OTC markets, and gotta have fully settled funds, and there's like minimums, and it's a very annoying stock to buy. But I'm very interested in this one. So we'll see. Anyways, let's talk about Semler. Now, I want to talk about Semler. Many of you have asked me in the comment section. Semler reported their earnings. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday or 2 days ago. Anyways, I listened to the call. Not much. One of the shortest call I've ever listened to. There's not much. We're doing a Bitcoin treasury strategy, and the core business is declining. That's the takeaway. And as a result of that, because of that, we now have Semler that is trading at a 1.13x price to NAV, which in my view is entirely ridiculous. Because if I take that number and I look, it's a $440 million company, so that means that the underlying business, which this is one of the few companies who has actually an operating business which actually used to make a lot of sense and probably still makes some sense for a value investor. That operating business is trading at equivalent of, a BTC adjusted price of $50 million. So $50 million is the only value that is not accounted for by the stock price, right? 88% of that stock price can be explained by the Bitcoin on the balance sheet. The rest, the 50 million, that's the value of the underlying business. But unlike all of these BTC treasury companies, Semler has an actual business. They have an actual medical device company with a long history, with a sales teams, with customers. So that's Quantaflow. Quantaflow used to be one of America's. It actually used to be one of the best performing small cap until, and this is new, I learned this from the Bitcoin conference, the MSTR Bitcoin for Corporation conference, until Elizabeth Warren actually went after a bunch of device manufacturers and sued them and got them off the CMS. And when you're taken off the CMS by the government, this is the classic way medical stocks die. And so when that happened, Eric Semler turned around and put all the cash of the company into Bitcoin to save the company. That was step one. And step one is you did it. You saved the company. And now he's going aggressive on the ATM. Of course, he's not doing much of that ATM right now at 1.13, even though it would still be accretive to do it at 1.13, but that would be kind of a waste of an ATM. I think he wants to wait until that price to NAV to go up a little bit. The point I'm trying to make as to why I find this company very, very cheap is that for $50 million, you get Quantaflow, and Quantaflow is sure it has declining sales about down. I think that most of the decline is done. I don't think we're gonna see much more decline. Maybe a little bit, but not much more decline because the sales have been in decline for now 4 quarters or 5 quarters. But anyways, if you look at trailing 12-month revenue, you're at 49 million. It's a 92% gross profit. EBITDA margin is 38%, and they're focusing on profitability. That's all they're gonna focus on. So that's 92 million of cash flow. You have 49 million, so 19% of cash flow. 50, sorry, I meant 50. But anyways, that should have been 50 here. But the point should be the same. Is you have a business who's trading at roughly 2.5 times price to cash flow, right? The underlying business is trading at 2.5 times price to cash flow. So it makes no sense, right? The present value, like even if Quantaflow slowly dies over the next 5 years, that present value of that cash flow is definitely higher than 2.5x in my view. And then point number 2, don't forget that cash flow is all going to be converted into Bitcoin. All of the cash is going to be converted into Bitcoin. And this is not a dead business because they are working on a new application for their product to have an extension so that it can help with heart failure. And so potentially covered with a CMS again, who knows, right? It's a classic medical device company. And then, they're also working on leveraging their distribution network to sell other products, to market other products. And actually, if you read this, despite the government decision about payments for risk adjustment for PAD, which is they stopped reimbursing for that, they continue to see ongoing testing and additions to the customer base, which means that the product is compelling on its own without reimbursement. It's going to be for decreased volume. It's going to be from a much lower base, but the product is not dead. It's just the government is not paying for it anymore. So anyways, the optionality is huge for the price of Bitcoin. So the way I look at Semler, the way I look at Semler is I look at it as I'm buying outright Bitcoin with enormous Quantaflow optionality. And don't forget they have a convertible bond strategy. Don't forget they have an ATM strategy. So if we were to get in a heated period, if this price to NAV were to go up, that's when they would tap the ATM. So I like Semler very much right now. And the last company I want to talk about, of course, is Strategy. And there's 2 points about Strategy today. Of course, trending today was the Financial Times making a film, quote unquote, a film about MicroStrategy and the 40 billion bet of Saylor, which of course now is not 40 billion. I think it's like 55 or 60 billion now in Bitcoin in the balance sheet. But anyways, TradFi is in disbelief. We're so early. This is crazy. I don't know where they found this journalist comparing Bitcoin to her teeth, which is what having Twitter. Bitcoin to teeth. I'm confused. You still have a lot of people out there who think Bitcoin is worthless. And so if you think Bitcoin is worthless, you're obviously going to think Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy strategy is a house of cards if you think Bitcoin is worthless. And of course, the first half of the documentary, and I don't know how many watch all of these until the end, but it's all about fear, 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 leverage, leverage, leverage. And, you know, halfway through, I was like, okay, they're not going to talk about the ATM. They're just going to make a piece about the leverage. And I am so thankful that we did it. I'm so happy. There is finally a legacy media who mentions the ATM. They mentioned the ATM. Now, they didn't mention that the ATM was most of the story and that the debt was a teeny tiny portion of that story. But I finally have a media who has talked about the ATM and how they generate a yield via the ATM and not via debt, right? So it's almost the issue of being able to documentary redeemed in my view, because I'm so happy about that. So thank you, FT, and frankly, this is not the worst documentary at all. I think this could open up the eyes of a lot of people to this company. So not a bad documentary at all, actually. It's pretty decent for an entry level to MSTR. And the last point is more of a welcoming ceremony. Let us welcome Jim. So Jim, I don't know if you know, but Jim is a famous Tesla short seller. And now he decided to short our favorite stock, MicroStrategy. Jim decided to short MicroStrategy, and so you know, unlike the Tesla community who doesn't have a good history of welcoming shorts, we at I don't work for MicroStrategy, but you know what I mean. We, the MicroStrategy community, love the shorts. So welcome, Jim Chanos. Please short MSTR. We need you. We're happy to have you here. Please triple down on your short. This is great. You are welcome to short MSTR. Anyways, this was not investment advice, not financial advice, just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me next. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.